Silverton, Colorado Territory, 1878. The boarding house dining room fell silent except for the cruel laughter of three women clustered near the window. Clara Catherine Caldwell kept her eyes fixed on her plate, her fork trembling slightly in her 22-year-old hand. She knew without looking that they were laughing at her again. "Did you see that dress?" Margaret Whitley's voice carried deliberately across the room. "Plain brown calico, same as she wore last Sunday and the Sunday before. No wonder she has not a single suitor." "Perhaps if she did something with that mousy hair," another woman added. "Though I suppose no amount of ribbons could help that face." Clara's light brown hair was pulled back in a simple knot, not because she lacked skill with styling, but because she rose at 4 each morning to help Mrs. Henderson prepare breakfast for the boarders before working a full day at the millinery shop. There was no time for elaborate curls or fancy braids. Her dress was indeed plain, but it was clean and carefully mended. It was also the only good dress she owned. The belief that had sustained Clara through 2 years in Silverton crystallized in her mind as hard as the silver ore in the mountains surrounding the town. Some people were meant to be invisible. Some were meant to serve, to work, to exist in the shadows while others took the light. She was too plain, too poor, too ordinary to expect anything different. Love, marriage, family, those were for women with pretty faces and full dowries, not for orphan milliners who could barely afford their board. She finished her breakfast quickly and escaped to her small room under the eaves. Through the narrow window, she could see the main street of Silverton already bustling with morning activity. Miners heading to the claims, shopkeepers opening their stores, and cowboys driving cattle through town on their way to the high country pastures. The frontier was harsh and beautiful, but Clara had learned it had no place for dreams. Survival was enough. Asking for more was inviting disappointment. At the millinery shop, Clara lost herself in work as she always did. Her fingers were skilled at shaping felt and stitching ribbon, and she had an eye for what would flatter each customer. Mrs. Morrison, who owned the shop, often said Clara could sell a hat to a bald man, but she never offered to increase Clara's wages beyond room, board, and $2 a week. "Clara, there is a gentleman here to see about a hat," Mrs. Morrison called from the front of the shop. Clara emerged from the workroom, wiping her hands on her apron. The man standing at the counter made her breath catch in her throat. He was young, perhaps 25, with the lean, muscular build of someone who worked hard for his living. His sun-lightened brown hair showed beneath a dusty cowboy hat, and his face was clean-shaven, revealing strong features and striking blue eyes. He wore working clothes, denim trousers, a chambray shirt, leather vest, but they were good quality and well cared for. "Good morning, sir. How may I help you?" Clara kept her voice steady and professional. "Morning, ma'am. Name is Owen Kearney. I'm in need of a hat for my mother. Her birthday is next week, and my sister wrote that her old one finally gave up the ghost." His voice was warm and carried a slight Texas drawl. When he smiled, Clara noticed he had kind eyes that crinkled at the corners. "Of course. What style does your mother prefer?" Owen pulled a worn envelope from his pocket. "My sister sent measurements and said something about flowers but not roses because Ma says roses are too showy." He looked slightly helpless in the way men often did when confronted with the mysteries of women's fashion. Clara could not help but smile. "May I see the letter?" As she read through his sister's careful notes, Owen watched her with an attention that made Clara conscious of her plain appearance. She resisted the urge to touch her hair or straighten her simple work dress. "Your sister is very thoughtful. I believe I have something that would suit. Please wait here." She returned with 3 hat boxes and began showing Owen the options, explaining the merits of each. She had a gift for reading people, for understanding what they truly needed even when they could not articulate it themselves. Within 10 minutes she had guided him to a beautiful but understated hat trimmed with violets. "That is perfect," Owen said, relief clear in his voice. "Ma will love it. You have a real talent, Miss Caldwell. Clara Caldwell." "Miss Caldwell," he paid for the hat which Mrs. Morrison packaged carefully. "I am much obliged. My mother lives in Denver, but I work at the Double K Ranch about 5 miles north of here. We bring cattle through Silverton regular. I hope I will see you again when I return the money." Clara's heart fluttered traitorously. "Return what money?" "Well, I figure when Ma writes to thank me, she will mention something I got wrong, and I will need to come back for you to fix it. Seems only fair to return the money if I made a mistake." "I am certain the hat will be perfect, Mr. Kearney." "Owen, please." He held her gaze for a moment longer than strictly necessary, then tipped his hat and left. "Mrs. Morrison appeared at Clara's elbow the instant the door closed. That is Owen Kearney of the Double K. His family owns one of the largest ranches in the territory. They say he will inherit the whole operation someday. She gave Clara a sharp look. Do not get ideas above your station, girl. Men like that do not court milliners. The words stung because they echoed Clara's own belief so perfectly. Of course, a man like Owen Kearney would not be interested in her. He had probably been polite out of mere courtesy, nothing more. She pushed the encounter from her mind and returned to work, but Owen returned 3 days later. "Afternoon, Miss Caldwell," he said, removing his hat as he entered the shop. "I was wondering if you might help me with another matter." Clara's pulse quickened despite her better judgment. "Of course, what do you need?" "My sister's birthday is in 2 months, and I thought I might get her something nice. She works so hard taking care of Ma and managing the house. Would you be willing to show me what might be appropriate?" For the next half hour, Clara showed Owen various options while he asked her opinion on each. She was acutely aware of how close he stood, how his attention never wavered from her face when she spoke. It was unsettling and thrilling in equal measure. "You are very patient," Owen said as she wrapped his final selection. "And you really listen when people talk. That is rare. It is my job to understand what customers want." "No, it is more than that. You have a way of making a person feel heard." He paused, then added, "Miss Caldwell, I know this is forward, but would you do me the honor of accompanying me to the church social next Saturday?" Clara's immediate instinct was to refuse. Women like Margaret Whitley would have a field day seeing plain Clara Caldwell on the arm of handsome Owen Kearney. The humiliation would be unbearable, but Owen was watching her with such hopeful earnestness that she found herself saying, "Yes. I would like that." His face lit up. "Truly, that is wonderful. May I call for you at 5 o'clock? I live at Mrs. Henderson's boarding house on 3rd Street. I will be there." "Thank you, Miss Caldwell." After he left, Clara's hands shook as she tried to return to work. What had she done? He would take one look at her in social circumstances, see how she paled in comparison to other women, and regret his invitation. Better to have refused and kept her dignity than to endure the inevitable disappointment. The week passed in an agony of anticipation and dread. Clara worked on her dress every evening, letting out seams and adding a bit of lace she had been saving for years. It was still plain, but at least it was her best effort. On Saturday afternoon, Margaret Whitley cornered her in the boarding house parlor. "Is it true you are attending the social with Owen Kearney?" "Yes," Clara lifted her chin. Margaret laughed, a brittle sound that made Clara's stomach clench. "You poor deluded thing. Do you think a man like that is genuinely interested in you? I heard he made a wager with the other ranch hands. They dared him to court the plainest girl in town. You are nothing but a joke to him." The words hit like physical blows. Of course, it made perfect sense. Why else would someone like Owen pay attention to her? "That is cruel gossip and nothing more," Mrs. Henderson said sharply from the doorway. "Clara, ignore her. Mr. Kearney strikes me as a decent young man." But the damage was done. When Owen arrived at 5 o'clock, looking handsome in clean trousers and a pressed shirt, Clara was ready to tell him she had changed her mind. Then she saw his face light up when he saw her. "Miss Caldwell, you look lovely." No one had ever called her lovely before. The word sounded strange and wonderful and terrifying all at once. "Thank you." She took his offered arm, very aware of Margaret watching from the window with narrowed eyes. The church social was held in a meadow at the edge of town, with tables of food and a makeshift dance floor where a fiddle player provided music. Owen guided her through the crowd, his hand warm and steady on her elbow. Clara braced herself for the stares and whispers. They came, but not quite as she expected. People did stare, but Owen seemed oblivious, focused entirely on her. When Mrs. Thompson from the dry goods store made a pointed comment about unlikely pairings, Owen simply smiled and said, "I am the lucky one, ma'am. Miss Caldwell agreed to spend her evening with me when she could have chosen anyone here." The comment was so outrageous that Clara almost laughed. As if she had suitors lining up. "You do not have to say such things," she murmured when they were alone. "I only say what I believe to be true." Owen looked genuinely puzzled. "Clara, may I call you Clara? You must know that you are remarkable. I am the plainest woman in Silverton, everyone says so." Owen stopped walking and turned to face her fully. "Who says that?" "Everyone. It does not matter. It is simply the truth." "It is not the truth, not even close." His voice was intense. Do you want to know what I see when I look at you? Clara shook her head, suddenly afraid of what he might say. I see a woman who rises before dawn to help Mrs. Henderson because the old woman's arthritis makes morning work painful. I asked around, he added at her surprised look. I see someone who could use her gift with hats to charge twice what she does, but who never takes advantage of the miners' wives who count every penny. I see kindness in how you speak to everyone, even the people who treat you poorly. I see intelligence in your eyes and grace in how you move and a smile that makes my heart beat faster. That is what I see, Clara, and if other people cannot see it, then they are blind fools. Clara stared at him, unable to speak. No one had ever described her that way, no one had ever really seen her at all. Now, Owen said, his tone lightening, would you do me the great honor of dancing with me? I should warn you I am only passably good at it, but I promise not to step on your feet more than twice. She let him lead her to the dance floor, her mind whirling. Could he possibly mean what he said? Or was Margaret right about the wager? As they danced, Clara became aware of her own false belief for the first time, could see it clearly as if from outside herself. She had decided she was unworthy of notice, unworthy of love, unworthy of anything but shadows and service. But what if she was wrong? What if there was something in her worth seeing after all? Owen proved true to his word about the dancing. He was competent but not graceful. Yet he held her carefully and smiled at her throughout, and Clara found herself relaxing despite everything. Between dances, he brought her lemonade and introduced her to friends from the Double K Ranch. Every introduction included a genuine compliment about her that suggested he had actually been paying attention to who she was. This is Clara Caldwell, who has the best eye for style in the territory and the patience of a saint for dealing with fellows like me who do not know a bonnet from a bowler. His friends were polite, though some seemed surprised by his obvious interest in her. As the evening wore on, Clara allowed herself to believe, just for a few hours, that maybe this was real. That maybe someone could see past her plain face and worn dress to something worthwhile underneath. The spell broke on their walk back to the boarding house. They were passing the Silver Dollar Saloon when a group of cowboys spilled out onto the sidewalk. One of them spotted Owen and called out, Kearney. How goes the dare? Clara felt Owen stiffen beside her. Another cowboy laughed. Did you get her to fall for you yet? That was the wager, was it not? Court the homeliest girl in town until she thinks you mean it. The world seemed to stop. Clara pulled away from Owen, her chest tight with humiliation and anger and a pain so sharp she could barely breathe. Margaret had been telling the truth. Clara, wait, Owen reached for her arm. Do not touch me, her voice shook. Was it entertaining? Did you get a good laugh? No. That is not, those men do not know what they are talking about. Do not lie to me, not now. Tears burned in her eyes, but she refused to let them fall. I should have known, of course it was not real, how could it be? It is real. Clara, please just let me explain. There is nothing to explain. Thank you for making it abundantly clear that my first instinct was correct. I am meant to be invisible. I should have stayed that way. She fled before he could respond, running the last block to the boarding house and up to her room. Only when she was safely behind her locked door did she let the tears come. The next morning, Clara woke with swollen eyes and a heart that felt like a stone in her chest. She had been a fool to believe even for a moment that someone like Owen could truly care for someone like her. The frontier was harsh and people were harsher. Love was a luxury for women with beauty and fortune. She had neither. Mrs. Henderson knocked softly on her door. Clara, dear. There is a young man downstairs who is very insistent about speaking with you. Tell him I am not receiving visitors. I did. He says he will wait as long as necessary. Clara stayed in her room, but when she finally emerged 2 hours later to go to work, Owen was sitting on the porch steps. He stood immediately when he saw her. Clara, please, give me 5 minutes to explain. There is nothing to explain, I understand perfectly. You do not, he moved to block her path, not threateningly but firmly. Those men last night are ranch hands from the Circle T 3 weeks ago. In a saloon, they were saying crude things about various women in town. I got angry and told them they were jackasses who would not recognize a quality woman if she walked right past them. They took offense and said I was too picky, that I probably could not even court a woman successfully. I said I could court any woman I wanted because courtesy and respect are what matter, not tricks or games. He ran a hand through his hair, frustration evident in every line of his body. They dared me to prove it, said I had to court the woman they chose. I was drunk and stupid, and I agreed. Then they pointed at you. You were walking past the saloon window on your way home from work. I said fine, and we shook on it. The wager was $50 that I could not get you to attend one social function with me. Each word was a fresh cut. Clara tried to push past him, but he gently caught her hand. Wait, you need to hear the rest. I went to the hat shop the next day planning to just go through the motions, win my money, and be done with it. But then I met you. Actually met you, talked to you, saw the way you listened and the kindness in your eyes and how much you genuinely cared about helping me find the right gift for my mother. And everything changed. Clara wanted desperately not to believe him, to protect herself with anger and hurt. What changed? I forgot about the stupid wager. I stopped thinking about proving anything to those jackasses and started thinking about how I could get to know you better. Every time I saw you, I discovered something new to admire. Your work ethic, your compassion, the way you notice things other people miss. Last night, before I picked you up, one of the Circle T hands reminded me about the wager and asked when I was going to collect my money. I told him to go to hell, that I was taking you to the social because I wanted to spend time with you, not because of any dare. That is why they said what they did. They were angry that I refused to play along anymore. He was still holding her hand. Clara was very conscious of his calloused fingers wrapped around hers. How do I know you're telling the truth now? Ask anyone at the Double K, ask the barkeep at the Silver Dollar. He was there when I told them the wager was off. Or better yet, let me prove it to you. Let me court you properly, with no wagers and no games. Just you and me getting to know each other. Clara wanted to believe him so badly it frightened her. But the old belief was still there, whispering that she was not worthy of this, that she would only be hurt worse in the end. I need to think, she said finally, pulling her hand away. Please let me pass. Owen stepped aside, his face troubled. I will wait, Clara, however long you need. She hurried to the millinery shop, her mind in turmoil. All day she worked mechanically, her thoughts circling endlessly. Could Owen really have meant what he said, or was this just a different kind of game, a way to soothe his conscience? That evening, Mrs. Henderson sat with her in the parlor. The older woman was one of the few people in Silverton who had always treated Clara with genuine kindness. You know I do not interfere in my boarder's business, Mrs. Henderson said, but that young man has been sitting on my porch all day. He left once to get food, which he barely touched, and then came right back. He looks absolutely miserable. Good, Clara said, though her heart was not in it. Is it good? You look just as miserable as he does. What am I supposed to do? Believe him, risk being humiliated again? Mrs. Henderson was quiet for a moment, when Mr. Henderson courted me. My family said he was beneath me. He was a farmer's son and I was a banker's daughter. They said he was only interested in my inheritance. I believed them at first because I could not imagine why else he would want me. I was bookish and plain and had none of the social graces expected of a young lady. Clara looked at her in surprise. She had never heard this story. Mr. Henderson persisted, the older woman continued. He kept showing up, kept treating me with respect and kindness, kept seeing something in me that I could not see in myself. Eventually I had to make a choice, believe in his love or believe in my own worthlessness. I chose love, Clara. We had 43 years together before he passed, and not one day did I regret that choice. She patted Clara's hand. Only you can decide whether to risk your heart, but I will say this. That young man out there does not look at you the way men look at a wager. He looks at you the way Mr. Henderson used to look at me, like you are the light in his whole world. Clara did not go out to the porch that night, but she lay awake thinking. By morning, she had made a decision. If she was going to live the rest of her life in Silverton, she could do it hiding in shadows, believing herself unworthy of happiness. Or she could risk believing that maybe, just maybe, someone could love her for who she truly was. Owen was on the porch again when she left for work. He looked like he had not slept. 1 month, Clara said before he could speak. You may court me properly for 1 month. No wagers, no games, no lies. After that, I will decide whether to continue. Hope flooded his face. 1 month, I can do that, thank you, Clara. Do not thank me yet. I am not easy to convince. I am counting on it. The courtship that followed was unlike anything Clara had imagined. Owen was attentive but not smothering, respectful but not distant. He brought her wildflowers from the high meadows and stayed to help Mrs. Henderson repair her fence. He took Clara on long walks and actually listened when she talked about her dreams of one day having her own millinery shop. He asked about her past, her childhood in Boston before she was orphaned, her journey west. In turn, Clara learned about Owen's family ranch, his complicated relationship with his father who wanted him to be harder and more ruthless in business, his love of the land and the cattle and the endless sky. She learned that he read poetry when no one was looking and that he had a gift for gentling difficult horses. The women of Silverton watched their courtship with various reactions. Some, like Margaret Whitley, were openly skeptical and cruel. Others seemed puzzled but gradually accepting. A few even began treating Clara with a new respect, as if Owen's attention made her worthy of notice for the first time. Clara found this both flattering and infuriating. She was the same person she had always been. But slowly, she began to realize that perhaps the problem had never been with her at all. Perhaps the problem was that she had accepted other people's valuations of her worth instead of determining it for herself. 3 weeks into their courtship, Owen invited Clara to visit the Double K Ranch. She accepted nervously, knowing this would be a test of sorts. Would his family think her unsuitable? Would she embarrass him in front of his friends? The Double K was even larger than she had imagined, sprawling across a mountain valley with views that took her breath away. Owen's father, Jacob Kearney, was a gruff man with hard eyes that assessed Clara with open skepticism. His foreman, a weathered cowboy named Sam, was friendlier but equally curious. "So you are the milliner," Jacob said over dinner. "Owen talks about you constantly. I hope you understand that running a ranch like this requires a certain kind of woman. It is not an easy life." Father Owen started, but Clara cut him off. "I understand, Mr. Kearney. I have worked hard every day since I was 14 years old. I know what it means to struggle and to make do with little. The frontier has never been easy for anyone, regardless of their station." Jacob's eyebrows rose. "Spoken plainly, I appreciate that." He did not smile, but something in his expression softened slightly. After dinner, Owen showed Clara around the ranch buildings. In the barn, he introduced her to his favorite horse, a beautiful bay mare named Copper. "I come out here when I need to think," Owen said, stroking the mare's neck. "There is something about horses. They do not care about money or social standing or any of that nonsense. They just care whether you are kind and patient and trustworthy." "Is that why you like me?" Clara asked. "Because I do not care about those things. I like you because you are you, because when I am with you I can breathe, because you see the world in a way that makes me want to be better." He turned to face her, his expression serious. "Clara, I know we agreed on 1 month before you decided anything, but I need you to know I am already certain. You are everything I never knew I was looking for." Clara's breath caught. In the dim light of the barn, with the sweet smell of hay and the soft sounds of horses around them, she felt something shift inside her. The old belief, the conviction that she was too plain, too ordinary, too unworthy, cracked and began to crumble. "I am afraid," she admitted. "I am afraid of believing this is real and then having it taken away." "I am afraid too," Owen said softly. "I am afraid of not being enough for you, of disappointing you, of the 100 ways I might fail you. But I hope that we might be afraid together, that maybe being afraid is not a reason to walk away from something good." He was right. Clara realized with sudden clarity that she had been letting fear rule her entire life. Fear of rejection, fear of humiliation, fear of hoping for something better, and where had that fear gotten her? 2 years of loneliness and the belief that she deserved nothing more. "I think my month is up early," she said. "I have decided." Owen's face went very still, and I would very much like for you to kiss me, Owen Kearney." Joy blazed across his features. He cupped her face gently in his hands and kissed her with a sweetness that made her knees weak. It was Clara's first kiss, and it felt like coming home to a place she had never known existed. Everything should have been perfect after that. Clara and Owen's courtship became official, with intentions clearly stated. Owen began talking about building a house on Double K land for them to live in after they married. Clara dared to dream about a future that included love and family and belonging. Then the letter came. It was delivered to the millinery shop on a Wednesday afternoon, addressed to Clara in handwriting she did not recognize. The postmark was from Boston. With trembling hands, she opened it. The letter was from a lawyer named Frederick Ashton. He wrote that he had been searching for Clara for 2 years on behalf of a client. Her uncle, Richard Caldwell, a man she had never met, the older brother of her deceased father, had recently died. In his will, he had left his entire estate to Clara, his only surviving relative. The estate included a substantial house in Boston, investments worth approximately $50,000, and a request that Clara return to Boston to claim her inheritance and take her rightful place in society. Clara read the letter 3 times, unable to process what it meant. She was not poor, she was not insignificant. She had family money, social standing, everything she had believed she lacked. But why now? Why, when she had finally found something real in Silverton, did this arrive to complicate everything? She showed the letter to Owen that evening. He read it slowly, his expression growing more troubled with each line. $50,000, he said finally. Clara, that is a fortune. You could go back to Boston, live as a lady of society, have everything you were meant to have. I never wanted society, Clara said. I never cared about money or position. But you deserve it. You deserve better than working 16-hour days for pennies, better than a room under someone else's eaves, better than, he stopped. Better than what? Better than you. Owen's silence was answer enough. Clara felt panic rising in her chest. Is that what you think? That I would choose money over you? I think you would be foolish not to, Owen said quietly. What can I offer you compared to that? A hard life on a ranch, years of struggle before we have anything comfortable, the judgment of people who think you married beneath yourself. Stop, Clara's voice was fierce. You are doing it now, the same thing I did for so long. You are deciding that you are not enough without asking me what I think. What do you think? He looked at her with raw vulnerability. I think I spent 22 years believing I was too plain and too poor to deserve happiness. I think I almost let that belief cost me the best thing that ever happened to me. And I think I will not let you make the same mistake. She took his hands in hers. I do not want Boston society. I do not want some life that was planned for me by an uncle I never knew. I want this. I want you. I want to build something together here, in the place where I finally learned what it means to be seen and valued for who I truly am. You are certain, hope and doubt warred in his expression. I have never been more certain of anything. Owen pulled her into his arms, holding her so tightly she could barely breathe. Clara felt him shaking and realized he was crying. Strong, capable Owen Kearney, who had seemed so confident from the beginning, had been just as afraid as she was. That should have been the end of it. Clara wrote back to Mr. Ashton declining the inheritance, or rather, requesting that it be sold and the proceeds donated to the Boston orphans' home where she had lived after her parents' death. She and Owen began planning their wedding for the following month. But 3 weeks before the wedding, a man arrived in Silverton asking questions about Clara Caldwell. His name was Gerald Ashton, and he was the son of the lawyer who had written to Clara. He was also, it transpired, a distant cousin through her mother's side of the family. And he had come west with the specific intention of convincing Clara to return to Boston with him. You do not understand, Gerald said when he cornered Clara outside the millinery shop. The inheritance is not just money. It is your birthright. Your uncle spent years trying to find you because he regretted the estrangement from your father. He wanted to make amends, to give you the life you were always meant to have. Gerald was handsome in the way of wealthy Eastern men, with refined features and expensive clothes. He looked at Silverton with barely concealed disdain, as if the rough frontier town and its people were beneath his notice. I appreciate your concern, Clara said firmly, but I have made my decision. To marry some cowboy and live in poverty. Clara, you could have your choice of suitors in Boston. You could attend the finest schools, wear beautiful gowns, never work another day in your life. Why would you throw that away? Because my life is not here in Silverton, and because Owen is not some cowboy. He is the man I love. Gerald's expression hardened. Is he, or is he simply the first man who paid you any attention? How do you know he truly loves you and is not just after your inheritance? The accusation struck at Clara's deepest fears. But she had worked too hard to overcome those fears to let them control her now. Owen did not know about the inheritance when he began courting me. He has never asked about money. And even if he had, I would trust him over a stranger who claims to have my best interests at heart, while clearly having no respect for my choices. You are making a mistake. Then it is my mistake to make. Good day, Mr. Ashton. She tried to walk away, but Gerald grabbed her arm. At least consider it. At least visit Boston, see what you would be giving up. Let her go. Owen's voice was quiet but carried an edge of steel. He had come around the corner and now stood a few feet away, his posture deceptively relaxed but his eyes hard. Gerald released Clara's arm immediately. "And you must be the cowboy." "Owen Kearney. And you need to leave. I am simply trying to help my cousin see reason. Your cousin has made her position clear. She is not interested. Now you can leave Silverton voluntarily, or I can help you leave. Your choice." For a moment the two men stared at each other. Gerald was taller and more polished, but there was something immovable about Owen, a core of strength that came from hard work and honest living. Gerald must have seen it too because he stepped back. "This is not over," he said to Clara. "When you come to your senses and realize what you have given up, do not expect a warm welcome in Boston. This is your one chance." He walked away, leaving Clara shaking with anger and relief. Owen put a hand on her shoulder. "Are you all right?" "I am fine, just angry. The arrogance of that man, as if I should be grateful that he came all this way to tell me my life is worthless." "Is it? Worthless?" Clara turned to look at Owen fully. "My life here with you, it is everything." The relief on his face made her heart ache. He was still afraid, she realized. Still worried that she would wake up one day and regret choosing him over wealth and status. "Owen, listen to me. You need to understand something. When I came to Silverton, I was broken. I believed I was nothing, that I deserved nothing, that I should be grateful for any small scrap of kindness. You showed me that I was wrong. You saw value in me when I could not see it in myself. You gave me back my sense of worth. How could I ever give that up for money? I just do not want you to regret. Stop, no more doubts, we both need to stop. We are enough, Owen. Together we are more than enough." He kissed her then, right there on the main street of Silverton, where anyone could see. It was not proper, but Clara did not care. Let them see. Let everyone see that plain Clara Caldwell had found something more precious than social standing or inherited wealth. She had found love. Gerald Ashton left Silverton the next day, but his visit had stirred up talk. Suddenly, everyone in town knew about Clara's inheritance and the choice she had made. Reactions were mixed. Some people admired her decision. Others thought her a fool. Margaret Whitley was particularly venomous. "She is only marrying that cowboy because she knows no one in Boston would have her. Even with $50,000, she is still too plain to catch a real gentleman." The comment got back to Clara, of course. Small towns had no secrets, but for the first time the words did not hurt. Margaret's cruelty said everything about Margaret and nothing about Clara. The wedding was held on a warm September afternoon in the small church at the edge of town. Clara wore a simple white dress she had made herself, with lace at the collar and cuffs. She carried wildflowers that Owen had picked from the mountain meadows. She had no family to attend but Mrs. Henderson stood in as her mother, weeping openly through the ceremony. Owen looked impossibly handsome in his Sunday best, his eyes shining as Clara walked down the aisle. When it came time for the vows, his voice was steady and sure. "I, Owen Kenneth Kearney, take you, Clara Catherine Caldwell, to be my lawfully wedded wife. I promise to see you, truly see you, every day for the rest of our lives. I promise to remind you of your worth whenever you forget. I promise to build a life with you that is full of love and laughter and purpose. This I swear before God and all these witnesses." Clara's voice shook with emotion as she spoke her own vows. "I, Clara Catherine Caldwell, take you, Owen Kenneth Kearney, to be my lawfully wedded husband. I promise to see you for who you truly are, not what the world expects you to be. I promise to stand beside you through hardship and joy. I promise to build a life with you that is rich in all the ways that truly matter. This I swear before God and all these witnesses." When the minister pronounced them husband and wife, Owen kissed her with such tenderness that Clara felt tears slip down her cheeks. The reception was held in Mrs. Henderson's boarding house garden, with simple food and music provided by local musicians. It was nothing like the grand society weddings Clara might have had in Boston, and it was absolutely perfect. Jacob Kearney approached Clara during the dancing. "I misjudged you," he said gruffly. "I thought you would take the money and run, most people would have." "I am not most people, Mr. Kearney." "No, you are not. My son is lucky to have you, and for what it is worth, you are lucky to have him too. He is a good man." "I know, that is why I chose him." Something like approval flickered across Jacob's weathered face. "The double K is yours now too, you know. Owen's inheritance is your inheritance. I hope you will help him run it someday. God knows he needs someone with sense by his side." It was as close to a blessing as Jacob Kearney was likely to give. Clara accepted it with grace. As the sun began to set, Owen pulled Clara away from the crowd. "Come with me, I have something to show you." He led her to a wagon hitched outside the boarding house. In the back were their belongings and supplies for several days. "Where are we going?" Clara asked, laughing. "You will see." They drove north out of Silverton as the stars began to appear. Clara leaned against Owen's shoulder, feeling more content than she had ever thought possible. After about an hour, Owen turned the wagon onto a narrow track that led up into the mountains. They came to a stop in a small meadow surrounded by pine trees. In the center of the meadow was a cabin, small but sturdy, with smoke rising from the chimney. "What is this?" Clara asked. "Our home. I have been building it for the past month with help from the ranch hands. It is not much yet, just 2 rooms and a loft, but it is ours. We can add on as we need to." Clara climbed down from the wagon and approached the cabin slowly. It was beautiful in its simplicity, built from local timber with a wide porch and large windows to let in light. Someone, probably Mrs. Henderson, had hung curtains in the windows and placed pots of flowers on the porch. Inside, the cabin was warm and cozy. The main room had a stone fireplace, a table and chairs, and a kitchen area. Through a doorway, Clara could see a bedroom with a large bed covered in a quilt. "Owen, it is wonderful." "There is more." He led her to the porch and pointed. From this vantage point, they could see down into the valley where the lights of Silverton twinkled in the gathering darkness. Above them, the stars were beginning to fill the sky in impossible numbers. "I wanted you to have a place where you could see the world spread out before you," Owen said, "a reminder that you are not meant to hide in shadows. You are meant to stand in the light." Clara turned to face him, this young man who had seen her when no one else did, who had loved her not despite her plainness but because he looked deeper than surfaces. "Thank you," she whispered. "Not just for the cabin, but for everything, for seeing me, for choosing me." "No, Clara, thank you for choosing me, for believing that a cowboy from Colorado could be enough for you. You are more than enough. You are everything." They stood together on the porch, wrapped in each other's arms as the night deepened around them. Clara thought about the girl she had been 2 years ago, arriving in Silverton with nothing but a battered carpetbag and the belief that she was meant to be invisible. She thought about the false security of that belief, how it had protected her from risk but also from joy. Meeting Owen had shattered that belief, had forced her to confront the possibility that she might be worthy of love after all. The journey from doubt to certainty had been terrifying and exhilarating in equal measure. But here in Owen's arms, with their home behind them and their future stretching out like the star-filled sky above, Clara knew she had made the right choice. She was not too plain, she was not too ordinary. She was exactly who she was meant to be, a woman who had learned to see her own worth reflected in the eyes of someone who loved her completely. The frontier was still harsh. Life would still be hard. There would be struggles and setbacks and days when doubt crept back in, but they would face it all together, 2 people who had found in each other the courage to believe in something better than survival. They had found hope. They had found home. 2 years later, Clara stood on the same porch, watching Owen teach their infant daughter, Emily, to wave at the horses in the pasture below. The cabin had grown to 4 rooms now, with plans for more as their family expanded. The millinery shop Clara had opened in Silverton was thriving, operated 3 days a week with help from Mrs. Henderson's niece, while Clara managed the ranch accounts and cared for Emily. Owen glanced up and caught Clara watching. His face lit up with that same look he had given her in the hat shop 4 years ago, the look that said she was the center of his world. "What are you thinking about?" he called. "About how far we have come, about how grateful I am that you saw something in me worth loving." "You had it backwards, Clara. I am grateful you saw something in me worth staying for." She walked down to join them, taking Emily from Owen's arms and settling the baby on her hip. "We are both grateful then." "That we are." Owen wrapped his arm around Clara's waist and pulled her close. From the porch, they could see the double K spreading out across the valley, the land that would someday belong to Emily and whatever siblings she might have. They could see Silverton in the distance, the town that had been so cold to Clara at first but had eventually become home. Most importantly, they could see each other, not the surface that the world judged, but the truth underneath. The light that had been there all along, waiting for someone brave enough to look. Clara had learned that being plain or beautiful, rich or poor, accepted or rejected, none of it mattered as much as knowing your own worth. And she had learned that love, real love, was not about finding someone who made you feel worthy. It was about finding someone who helped you see the worth that had always been there. Owen had been that person for her, and she had become that person for him. Together, they had built something that would last far beyond their years, a love that had conquered doubt, a family that had conquered loneliness, and a home that had conquered the harsh isolation of the frontier. As the sun set over the Colorado mountains, painting the sky in shades of gold and pink, Clara kissed her husband and held her daughter close. This was not the life she had imagined in those early, lonely days in Silverton. It was infinitely better, it was real, it was hers, and it was more than enough.